Well, hello, avid readers. Trisha Goyer here, and I am here with Sarah Pennington with her book, Song of the Selkies. Did I say that right? Selkies?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And before I tell you all about this book, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am a independently published fantasy author. Mostly I write fairy tale retellings. Eventually I'm going to start publishing non-fairy tale retellings, but for now, fairy tale retellings because they're fun and I love to read them. I publish in a variety of subgenres. I have epic fantasy like Saga the Selkies. I also have urban fantasy mystery and steampunk, and I dabble in various other subgenres. Other than that, I am a crafter, mostly with fiber arts, and I also do graphic design as my day job, but not going into a lot of that because mostly we're here for writing.
I love that. Okay. So, Song of the Selkies has a little, if you're watching it on video, some people might just watch the audio, but there's this a little award gleaming, perfect little emblem on it, on here. I guess I'm getting tongue tied, but tell us what you won, because this is like a super big deal.
So, Song of the Selkies won Fantasy Novel and Book of the Year at the 2024 Realm Awards.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar, so Realm Makers is a organization for I guess speculative fiction writers. So there are published and non-published. There's thousands of members. Every year, hundreds and hundreds of books get submitted for different categories. There's like fantasy, like she talked about, in science fiction and young adult and audiobook and all these different genres. And so then they narrow those down to a group of people, and then they have the award winners for those. So they have the nominees, and then those that are up for the award, and then the winners. So out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, your book won the book of the year. Were you like, well, so you knew that you were a nominee for fantasy, correct?
Yes.
But they don't even tell you like who's nominated for book of the year. It goes from the ratings from all the books of all the categories together, and the one that has the highest rating out of all the books wins the award. So really, like maybe I might win the fantasy novel of the
Mm-hmm.
year, but then okay, tell us, like, so I wasn't there. I was supposed to be there, but tell us what it was like to sit there and then first of all to see that you're one of the nominees for the book of the year.
So, I was at, I was there with a few of my friends, um, and sorry, um, I had thought a couple of minutes as I was walking back to my seat from the stage, huh, I guess I am technically maybe eligible for that. That's never going to happen. Like, that's something that would happen 20, 30, 40 years down the road if it happens at all.
Right.
Um, and then they they mention, oh, there's some second place winners who may be finalists for Book of the Year because they scored so well. And I was like, oh, that's definitely not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go through and they get to either the third or fourth finalist. And I'm like, wait, that's my book. What's happening now? What's happening? My friend next to me is like, that's your book. And I'm like, yeah. But I'm still like, it's amazing that I was just a finalist.
Right.
If I get the honorable mention, that's going to be beyond believable. There's no way that I will actually make that top spot. There was another book that had also won several awards. I was like, that one looks so good. I bet that one wins Book of the Year. And honestly, I am quite certain that she deserves it. And then he announces the honorable mention. It's not me. I'm like, well, I still made finalists. That's amazing. That's an accomplishment that I can tell people about. And then he starts reading the first line. And he gets to the fourth word, and my friend and I are both like, we recognize that. My friend next to me screams a little because she is very excited. I am internally screaming a little because I'm like, is this actually happening? And then he announced it. I was like, okay, this is actually happening. um, but until like 10 minutes before that, I had totally forgotten that there was even a fraction of a
Yeah.
chance that I might be anywhere near there.
Yeah.
So it was a big surprise. Um, but like a good surprise. It was very exciting.
I think I would've been crying, like, with happiness. My favorite shows are, like my favorite all-time show is The Voice, because I just love, like, seeing people, like, cheered on, like, any of those where people win, like, I don't like that
Mm-hmm.
people go home, but any of those, I cry, and people are like my family's like, "Why are you crying over this TV show?" So I think if I would've saw like, if I would've been able to like, have you and your friends in view, I've been, like, crying and, like, happy. Just hearing you
Oh.
talk about it, I'm, like, tearing up because it's so fun to see people like because we know they work so hard and
Mm-hmm.
publishing is a really hard gig. Like there's so many challenges. And then also so this is independently published. Let's talk about that too. But you were going up against books from traditionally published books. So
Mm-hmm.
books that other publishers, editors took that before committee. They, yes, we want to publish this book. They spent lots of money, paid the art designers, interior people, multiple editors. They have salesmen that go around the country and sell books. And that's who you were going against. And so and you independently publish this, which I love that because I love so much that I think there's and I tell people this all the time traditional publishers are awesome because I write mostly for traditional publishers, but they only have so many slots. They can only fill it. And readers just want great books and they want to be entertained and they love, especially in the speculative fiction fantasy. My adult kids who are in their 30s. I almost like I actually just said that my adult kids are in their 30s, low 30s. Let's just say that. But they read way more books than I do. There, it's just this generation reads a lot of books and a lot of speculative fiction, so they want good books. And so I'm so
Mm-hmm.
thankful that there's authors like you that just write a good story. Obviously, it won Book of the Year. Write a good story, pour everything into it, do a really good job with it, and then are able to win awards. So that makes me very happy.
Well, thank you. It was a really exciting thing. And as you said, I'm independently published. At one point, I was hoping to go the traditional publishing route. Um, I even wrote a blog post at one point about why I'm not going indie. Um, that was way before I actually published anything, but I wrote a whole blog post about how I'm not going to pursue self publishing, even though it's this big becoming this big thing and I see all these other people doing it and I'm beta reading or doing blog tours for all these indie publishers. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And then a couple years down the road, um, Anne Elizabeth Stengel had, who is another uh, Christian fantasy author. She is not writing at the moment, which is tragic, but she was one of my favorites. She
Mhm.
did the last of her Rugelwood contests, which were contests where everyone writes retellings of the same fairy tale, um, and the top five would get published in an anthology. Uh, I wrote a story for that, and my story was one of the top scoring in the contest. It actually got a perfect score, but it didn't quite fit as well with some of the others that were being considered for the anthology. So basically, because I got such a good score, but wasn't in the anthology. Basically, the sort of they called it the special unicorn prize was that I got a cover design for my story by
Wow.
Elizabeth Stengel, who is a very good cover designer in addition to being a very good author. So I had that, and then Kendra Ardneck, who is a yet another indie Christian fantasy author, said Kendra said, I'm doing a group release for people who did this contest, who really like their stories, who think their stories are worth sharing, but who didn't get into the anthology. And then she contacted me privately and said, Sarah, you have a really good story. I've read your stuff. You're a good author. You should do this group
Mhm.
release. At least think about it. So I thought about it, and I prayed about it, and I realized that
Mhm.
all the reasons that I was not pursuing self publishing did not apply anymore.
Mhm.
Or if they did apply somewhat,
Mhm.
they didn't matter as much anymore.
Right, exactly.
Um, like, I was concerned about getting a good cover design. I had a cover. And
It's like God was like, okay, what are you gonna
yes,
do now?"
yep.
I'm, like,
Um,
literally still tearing up from that. I'm like, "This is the best story." I love it.
but yes, like, I was concerned about that. I had a cover. I was concerned about editing. I was I was in college at the time. Literally, part of my major was this is how you do editing well.
I
And
love it.
um, book
I
formatting,
love it.
that's also in my major. Um, just all the and marketing. Part of the group release was people will cross promote each other's books,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Kendra would organize all the social stuff. And I'd been a part of Kendra's blog tours for a while. I knew that she was good at it. I was
Yes,
like,
I love it.
everything seems to be falling into place. I
Mhm.
guess let's try this and see what happens. And that's what happened.
I love that so much. I literally have makeup in my eye right now because I'm like tearing up hearing your stories. Okay, because I tell people I was just actually recorded a podcast that's going to be airing later too with David
Mhm,
Martin, who publishes in the UK, and he publishes a lot of books in the UK, and he self publishes a lot of books in the UK, and he said that we have all these reasons why we were pursuing traditional publishers, but again, there's only a certain number of slots, and he says God told him just to get the word out there. Like, it didn't matter,
mhm,
like, just to be faithful, and then because he was faithful, now he's done a ton of books. But it's so cool that our faithfulness, like, God tells us to write, and he gives us a skill. Obviously, he's given you a
mhm,
skill, and this makeup in my eyes bother me, but that's okay. Uh, so he gives you the skill, but you have to be faithful just to put it out there, whatever form it is.
mhm,
And traditional publishing, it's still out there and it's vibrant, but the readers again want more than they can ever
mhm,
produce. And so I love that independent publishers are doing a really good job
yeah.
and getting their books out there. So okay, so tell us about this story because I don't want to be like get to the end of the interview and there are people like, what is the book even about? So give us the and then you talked about um fairy tales. So give us the recap of what this book is about.
Song of the Selkies is a role swap Little Mermaid retelling. So instead
Mm-hmm.
of a mermaid wanting to become a human, we have a human princess, the youngest of seven sisters, who ends up going to temporarily live with the Selkies. Selkies
Uh-huh.
are Scottish seal shapeshifters. Try saying that 3 times fast.
I love it. Selkies,
But
Scottish shapeshifter. I cannot say that.
but yes. So she is, as I said, the youngest of seven princesses, and she has been brought up to expect an arranged marriage for the good of her country, and she's excited about this. She's like,
Mm,
"This is how I serve God. This is how I serve my people. This is my responsibility." And she's seen love come out of arranged marriages. She's like, "This is why I'm expecting. This is why I want."
mm.
And then her parents tell her, "Hey, you have 6 older sisters. We've done all the alliances. Who do you want to marry?"
Wow.
She panics for, I would say, understandable reasons
Yeah,
because her
yeah,
life
yeah.
plan has just been turned upside down. And then she remembers there's these Selkies who live nearby. We have a treaty with them, so we're like not hostile to each other. But we've had the treaty for like generations.
Mhm.
At this point, I feel like we should be in a position where we could be looking at an alliance. Let's see if they're interested in alliance, and let's see if, by chance, their ruler, who is, as far as anyone knows, single and of a marriageable age, is interested in getting
Oh
married to seal
my
this alliance.
goodness. I love
Um,
this.
so she suggests this. Her, unfortunately, the Selkie King does not take it as well as she expects.
Oh, no.
So she, with the help of her grandmother and her older sister, acquires what she believes is a enchanted item that works like a Selkie cloak. Um, Selkies can transform using their cloaks,
Okay.
which are sealskin cloaks. So she acquires this, goes off to basically find the Selkies, find out what's going on, find out why her suggestion upset the Selkie King so much, and you'll have to read the rest of the story to find out what
Yeah, I'm
happens
like
from there.
literally sitting here going, wait, did she go underwater? Did she do this like the part there? I mean, they're mermaids, right? Or shapeshifters or
They are Selkies.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Is it
so
like a
they
mermaid? Like, explain that to me. Explain because this really is like a Scottish thing, right? The legends.
Yes,
Okay.
Selkies are they can transform into a seal using a seal cloak. So on
Okay.
land they look like humans.
Okay.
In the water they become seals as long as they have their cloaks. And the cloaks are very
Oh.
important. A lot of the traditional legends are about Selkie cloaks being stolen. Um,
Mm.
and
So,
that
that's
may or
probably
may
in the
not be a
book.
significant thing in this
That's
story
probably
as
in the
well.
book somewhere.
It
I
might
love this.
be.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how did you even come up with this idea? I'm like fascinated where people get their ideas.
It was a combination of a few different factors. One was a lot of the base inspiration comes from a song by Heather Dale. It's called The Maiden and the Selkie, and
Mhm.
it is about a girl and a Selkie who want to get married, but he can't live on land and she can't live in the ocean, so they
Oh
have to
wow.
figure that out. Another factor was that Kendra, who did that first group release I published with, was doing another group release. This one was The Little Mermaid. So I was thinking about what can I do with
Yeah.
Mermaid, and I'm like, there are not enough Selkie stories out there. There are especially not enough Selkie stories out there with happy endings.
Yeah.
I should fix this. And then the last piece of inspiration was a post I saw about arranged marriage tropes and how there really should be more princesses
Mhm.
who aren't drama queens about the fact that they have to marry someone for the good of the kingdom
Yeah.
because they should be expecting that. I was like, I'm going to write a story about a princess who wants an arranged marriage and doesn't get it because I think this sounds like it'll be fun.
I
And all
love
those
that.
things came together to become Song of the Silkies.
I love that so much. Okay, this is awesome. I love the idea. I love that you take these things, and I love with authors, they're kind of floating around in our mind, right? You have
Mhm.
this thing and you hear this thing, and then you start to write it. So, tell a little bit about the research because this is like there's legends and songs and all these things about it. So, what type of research did you do?
So I did look into Selkie legends. I knew a fair bit about them already because I like Selkies and also I enjoy reading mythology, folklore, fairy tales, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Uh, so I looked into that to make sure that I knew fairly well what was out there, what the established lore was, which I did not use all the established lore in the
Right,
Selkies in Song. The Selkies are my version of Selkies.
right.
Um, So I looked into that. I looked a lot. I also did a lot of research. Honestly, most of the research was into medieval clothing and food and
Hmm.
culture and all that sort of thing. I don't write historical fiction. I'm very clear on that. I don't write historical fantasy, but I do like to use authentic historical stuff from the most similar time period when I can. And then where there is something that's different, that's often a space for me to explore and think about why is this different? And it
Hmm.
might just be there's fairies who travel like across the globe in a week because of fairy paths. My Scottish people can have potatoes pre-Columbian exchange. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, you're not writing historical fiction. It's okay.
yeah. But I do like to use stuff from history. So, like, I try and keep my clothing descriptions accurate to stuff that would be worn then. I
Mhm.
look at try and look at food and, like, when I can, I say, what food would they have been eating in the equivalent time period? So
Yeah.
that was a lot of the research.
Oh, so fun. Okay. So, I want to know what else you've written because you've mentioned things here and there, but just give like an overview. You have this novel. What
Mhm.
do you have other novels published? You talked about the story that was independently published, but that was part of that anthology. You have this one. What else do you have?
So I have several other novels and novellas. My main other big project, ongoing series, is the Bastian Denno PI novels, and those are jazz age inspired urban fantasy mystery. They
Ooh.
follow Bastian Denno, who is a private investigator who keeps getting pulled into these magical cases that happen to resemble fairy tales from our world. The
I love
first
it.
one is The Midnight Show, and that's based on the 12 Dancing Princesses. Then Gilda and Ice is Snow White, Rose Red meets East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Um, that one may be my favorite in the series. I've It has Bastian and his sisters, and it has a magical cat, which I love writing sibling
I love
relationships,
that.
and I love magical cats. So
There you go. Yeah.
Mask of Scarlet is Cinderella, and a lot of people have told me that's actually their favorite of the series, which I think is interesting. But I do think it's a really fun story. Um, I have Mechanical Heart. That's one of my earlier books. That
Mhm.
is steampunk Rapunzel. Rapunzel is deaf and
Mm.
trapped in a clock tower, and there's a prince trying to figure out why is there a girl trapped in this clock tower, and why doesn't she want help getting out?
Oh, wow.
And then the last of my books is Through a Shattered Glass. That one actually won the Novella Award at
Mhm.
the 2023 Realm Awards, and that is Alice in Wonderland meets the Snow Queen, though it's more of a return to Wonderland where Alice has left Wonderland for a long time because of a tragedy that occurred. That that bears some resemblance to the start of the Snow Queen. We'll say that.
Oh,
But she
wow.
has left Wonderland for a long time, but now she's um, coming back because Wonderland is in trouble, and the childhood friend she thought was dead might maybe is less dead than she thought.
Maybe it's less dead. That's awesome.
Uh, but
That is awesome.
so that that is another story I really like, and I mean I like all my books, but
Yeah, exactly. We have to like him because we wrote him, right? But as you're talking about, I'm like some of my kids. I'm like they're really gonna like these. I'm going to remember this for birthday and Christmas presents. Some of
mhm,
those types of stories are, just even like the Descendants movies. I don't even know how many times we watched. I could sing all the songs from the Descendant movies because my kids love that. Like they love those twists on the film. In fact, they could probably tell you the twist stories, the newer twists, than they could actually what the original story is. Like if you had to tell them, they had to tell you what Cinderella was. Like my 13-year-old son in my writing class, we were talking about Beauty and the Beast. He's like, I haven't seen that since I was really little. I'm like, oh, that's right. We watch all these retelling and all these twists and stuff,
mhm,
but yeah, you probably haven't watched the original one in a while. So, yeah, and
yeah,
I love it. I think there's such a hunger for that, and where you see um like readers wanting more, like just
mhm,
give them what they want. And obviously you
yeah.
are doing that and people are loving it. Okay. What are you currently working on?
My current project is a prequel to Song of the Selkies. It is actually coming out uh, as as of when this podcast is going to come out. It is
Oh,
coming
okay.
out later this month, September
Okay.
27th. This it is as of recording, it's in the editing stages. As of people actually listening to it, it will hopefully be like fully
Yay.
edited, and or else in like the late proofing stages. But it
Awesome.
is a prequel to Song of the Selkies, focusing on Sayana's oldest sister, Honora, um, and it is a Goose Girl retelling mixed with Puss in Boots, because I realized these two stories could go really well together. And then I decided that Honora was the right character to tell that story with. But it's about Honora when she is about Sayana's age, which is like 18, 19-ish. She is going out on basically her first solo responsibility as crown
Mm.
princess, which goes a little awry when a fairy shows up, takes her place, and Honora gets stuck as a goose girl and has to figure out how to expose the imposter and
Oh my
reclaim
god.
what's actually hers.
That sounds like it would be the cutest movie. Like, I could almost picture that being a movie. Oh my goodness, that sounds awesome. I just love your creative imagination, and I love that you're, like, just going for it. Like, you're just like, "I'm gonna write these books," and obviously, you're doing a fantastic job, so congratulations, Sarah, I'm so excited. So, if someone wants to go and dive deep into all these books, because it sounds like they're just if people love fantasy and fairy tale retellings, they're gonna have so much fun. So, where can they go to find more information about you and your books?
The best place for information about me and my books is going to be my author website. That's sarahpenningtonauthor.com. I'm also on Amazon. All of my books are available for sale on Amazon. That's the main place to buy them online. You can also find me on social media. I am on Facebook as Sarah Pennington Author, and I am also on Instagram as sarah.tailweaver, where I mostly post about other people's books I'm really liking, and also, stuff I'm baking and life stuff going on. But also, I do post weekly writing updates in the form of goal posts because they're fun and uh, they help me keep people updated on what's going on, and they help keep me accountable. I'm very goal
Exactly.
oriented.
Yes, me too. Give me a goal, and that's kind of sad when it's like, "Oh, I don't have a book due for like 3 months, so let me just go do this other thing." It's like the closer it gets, and I'm like, "Oh wait, I gotta write that book now." So, so fun. Well, Sarah, it was great talking to you, and congratulations on
Thank
2
you.
awards. I am so proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
I cannot wait to dig into your books. But thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.